Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Hannah Grace Fletcher. I'm an aspiring author currently working on my very first novel project, Project AOS. But as for today's video, we will be reviewing my February reads for my video last month, as well as picking my March TBR reads for this month. So last month, I ended up choosing Gregor and the Prophecy of Bane by Suzanne Collins, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and Walden by Henry David Thoreau. And those were the prompts of choose a book with the name and the title, choose a book by an author you know and love, and choose a book based on a true story. And it's safe to say that those were absolutely excellent choices, but in order to tell you guys the truth, I only ended up reading one of those books, which was Gregor and the Prophecy of Bane. So I do have a lot of books that I read for school because I'm taking a children's young adult literature class. So we have a book that we read every week. Obviously they're short because they're children's young adult middle grade books, but those end up taking up a lot of my time. I ended up finishing this one and it was absolutely excellent. If you haven't read this series, I highly recommend it. It was a series that Suzanne Collins wrote before The Hunger Games. Unlike The Hunger Games, which is young adult, this is middle grade. And I believe there's 7 books in the series. I could be wrong about that. Editing me will correct me. But this was book 2 in the Underland Chronicles. And honestly, I liked it more than the first one, and I adored the first one. So I will be rating this one a 5 out of 5, which is very high praise. But anyway, as for the Screwtape Letters, I'm about halfway through it, and I am loving it so far. So I have no doubt that it'll be a 5 out of 5. As for Walden, I'm almost halfway through it. I've been listening to the audiobook. I've kind of talked about how I've been doing that in past videos, but I haven't listened to it for a while. As you know, it's literally Walden, so he's kind of just talking about the state of the world and how someone is supposed to live, and it's kind of rambling and having that philosophical kind of viewpoint, but it's also as he's living by Walden Pond and making his own way for himself. And I've really enjoyed it so far. I don't know if it's going to be a 5 out of 5, but I know that it's either going to be a 3 or 4 out of 5 because I have really enjoyed it so far. It's just kind of hard to get to, and I know 5 out of 5 stars is a feeling that you get, and I'm not really getting that feeling with this book. It's more so like, oh, this is really cool. Is it the best thing I've read in the world? No. Can I understand that it's totally awesome and an amazing read? Yes. But anyway, like I said before, all I got was the Gregor and the Prophecy of Bane, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it to you guys, especially if you are working on a series young adult or middle grade. I think this book really does a good job of writing characters that are their age and writing those characters going through difficult situations, but facing them in ways that children would. Because I know it can be difficult, especially as a writer, especially if you're an adult writer. I know that there are teen writers, and I think that's awesome, but I know the majority of writers are older, and they're kind of looking back on what it was like to be young from in the future perspective. So that hindsight definitely changes things, but I think that Suzanne does a wonderful job of writing these characters and writing them in ways that make sense for who they are. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I'm very excited to get into this segment of the video where we will be choosing my March reads. Also, meant to mention this before, I don't know which video will be out first, but we have my vision board with all my characters for Project AOS. You cannot see Beatrix. There she is. I'm not sure. I know that it is literally, quite literally a lot, and that I may need to move things around, but I don't know. It's kind of fun. Tell me what you think in the comments. But anyway, as to get into the picks for this month. So I have the trusty TBR prompt jar, the mushroom. Absolutely gorgeous. If you see mushroom paraphernalia in my videos, just know that I have a mushroom obsession and it may or may not be a problem. But anyway, we will be going into picking these reads. Our first selection for March TBR reads is Choose a Classic. I don't know if you can see that. Focus for me. Choose a classic. You guys definitely can't read that, but there we go. Oh my goodness, I forgot that I put this one in there, but I'm so glad I did. I don't know what to pick at all in the slightest. I'm going to have to pause you while I think about this. Okay, so I'm a bit conflicted because I know that the way people define classic is very different depending on who you talk to, but kind of what I'm going for with this genre and this TBR pick is to pick something that kind of either is very old and considers like one of a kind and inspired a lot of different things, or something that's very well known in its genre, very renowned, and has been kind of analyzed for a long time, if that makes sense. So on my Goodreads Want to Read, I have 3 that kind of fit into this mold, and that is Gone with the Wind, The Book Thief, and The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. I think these all very heavily relate to the classic genre, but if I'm honest, I don't think that I have the capacity to read them, either because they're too long or just the emotional impact seems a bit too heavy for me at the moment. I know that that's very relative, especially with the options that I have, but I have 2 other books that my mom has recommended to me and that I've been very excited to read. They do have heavier concepts, but these are sci-fi fantasy, and I think these will kind of fit into what I'm looking for more as for my TBR reads right now. But anyway, first we have The Earth Abides by George R. Stewart, and I am very excited about this one. I'll just read you guys the back of it real quick. It says, "For Isherwood Williams, his cabin has always been a haven from the demands of society, but one day while hiking, Ish is bitten by a rattlesnake. What he doesn't know is that the venom might be the only thing that kept him alive. For when Ish heads home, the world is not as he left it. No cars pass, the gas station not far from his cabin looks abandoned. There's nothing on the radio, and he is shocked to see the body of a man on the roadside near a small town. He has missed humanity's abrupt demise, only to find himself at the center of society's rebirth. This is a chance to start over, and as Ish gathers survivors to him, he discovers just how wondrous and terrible that proposition is. And when decades later he looks back on his legacy, he's only starting to understand the challenge between enlightenment and practicality. He had left one world, rejoined another, and now leaves, hopefully, an even different world behind, because, reluctantly or no, his words and actions carry weight for the next generation, and Ish's vision of the future may be one of prophecy or doom." So it's very post-apocalyptic, dystopian, and I am very excited to potentially read this one. But as for the other option we have for choosing a classic, is we have Left Behind by Jerry B. Jenkins. If you have ever watched the movie or any content surrounding this, they have made a lot of books based on this premise, a very, very many. But this is a novel of the Earth's last days, so it's basically inspired by the last days in Revelation in the Bible, and what happens when the rapture happens and everyone gets taken and who's left behind and things like that. And I am very interested in this, especially as a religious fantasy writer. I think that this is going to be a very fun read and is going to give me more things to read there are in the genre that I'm writing right now. But there is not a premise on the back of that one, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Last days of humanity, everything's falling apart, people are left behind. Who are those people? What are they doing? Where are they going? How do they feel? Stuff like that. And both of these books are decently long, but honestly, I would be good with either one of these, but I think that I'm going to choose Left Behind by Jerry B. Jenkins, and I'm very excited for this read. So, as for our next TBR read for the month of March, we will be doing Choose a Book Set in Space / Another Planet. Okay, do I have anything that suits this at all? I'm gonna have to pause and reconvene. So I didn't really even have to think much about this one, surprisingly. I have been wanting so badly to get into Brandon Sanderson's books, and I know that he has the whole Cosmere universe, with a bunch of different stories, a bunch of different worlds, a bunch of different perspectives happening. But based off the videos that he's filmed about where to start, he has said that the best book to start with for the whole Cosmere and everything in all of his books is the Mistborn trilogy. So for this read, I will be picking Mistborn, The Final Empire, and I will read this to you real quick. For 1,000 years the ash fell and no flowers bloomed. For 1,000 years the Sky slaved in misery and lived in fear. For 1,000 years the Lord Ruler, the sliver of infinity, reigned with absolute power and ultimate terror, divinely invincible. Then, when hope was so long lost that not even its memory remained, a terribly scarred, heartbroken half-skate rediscovered it in the depths of the Lord Ruler's most hellish prison. Kelsier snapped and found himself the powers of a Mistborn, a brilliant thief and a natural leader. He turned his talents to the ultimate caper, with the Lord Ruler himself as the mark. It keeps going, but I'm not going to keep reading because I know that I want to get this video out. But honestly, having a very long book blurb makes sense for Brandon. But those will be the first two, Left Behind and Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And now for our third read of the month. It looks like we are doing a lot of sci-fi, which I am very excited for. If you've been watching me on this channel before, you know that sci-fi fantasy is my entire world. It is basically everything I read. But for our third read, so sorry, my camera ended up just dying, but I resisted the urge to read this one, but I already picked it, so let's go ahead and pick our third TBR read for this month. Choose a short story collection / anthology. This is gonna be a fun pick. Oh my gosh, I have to look at my Goodreads. So in all honesty, I have nothing on my TBR that really fits this, or maybe there is something. I feel like whenever I film these videos, I absolutely forget everything I want to read, and then I just pick stuff that I have written down or that I have physically in front of me. But I truly don't think that I have any short stories or anthologies on my list that I want to read. I have authors that I know write poetry and stuff like that I would like to see more from. But I just went to Goodreads and I looked up short stories, or I went to Google, looked up short stories, and then looked at a few of the Goodreads reviews. And the first one that I looked at was Different Seasons by Stephen King. And I know that it is a collection of 4 novellas, so it fits the short story collection aspect. And I have never read Stephen King, strictly for the fact that I cannot do horror novels. I am a very paranoid person. I am highly delusional, if you hadn't been able to tell yet. So I cannot handle horror. I'm literally scared of the dark. Like every night I cannot sleep because I feel unsettled by it being dark. Sorry, I'm getting a call, 1 second. So sorry. Okay, anyway, what I was talking about. I have never read anything by Stephen King because I don't do horror. I don't do it. I can't do terror. I will go insane. I have nightmares every night. I don't need nightmares in the daytime. But as I was going through good short story collections, one of them popped up was Different Seasons by Stephen King, and I heard that it's not necessarily too badly horror or something, that it was more of a drama than a horror. I'm still concerned because I read something where it was like, oh, when he first tried to publish it, he didn't publish it originally because he was like narrowed into the horror genre, and that's all publishers wanted him to do. But I think that I'm going to choose this one. Honestly, I do want to read his books, and I do want to try to step out of my comfort zone, and it does seem like something that would be interesting to me, and I do want to try it. If editing me pops here in a second and says that, hey, actually, I couldn't do this, or if I say in a video that like, hey, I drove myself insane over this, you'll know why. Because I can't do horror. But I want to try it, and I can't really think of anything else in my brain. If I do end up switching, I'll let you know, but I really want to try it. I want to put myself out of my comfort zone and try it. But anyway, I will be choosing Different Seasons by Stephen King. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the whole behind the scenes picking the TBR reads. For a recap, I ended up picking Left Behind, the Mistborn Trilogy Book 1, and Different Seasons by Stephen King. Also, I meant to say this is also by Tim LaHaye. I don't know how I missed that. I just completely skipped that and then instantly read that one. 2 authors on this one. But anyway, I'm very excited for this month's reads. There's a lot of sci-fi kind of dystopian going on, and I have been waiting to get into Brandon Sanderson's books. And this, I've wanted to read this for a while now, and I'm very excited to do it and to get myself out of my comfort zone and try to read Stephen King. If you made it to the end of this video, put the stack of books emoji down below and let me know what you ended up picking for your March TBR reads. I am very excited to see what you guys chose and to get to read these books this month, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!